Sorry about that. Can I have a roll call, Mr. Peppers?
Mr. Annunziata?
Here.
Mrs. Bucieri?
Here.
Mr. Chili?
Here.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Here.
Mrs. McGee?
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Here.
Dr. Peak?
Here.
Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
Mr. Sparta?
Here.
All
Can you
present.
please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we have a reading of the meeting notice, Mr. Peppers?
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, Vernon Township Board of Education has caused notice of the meeting to be published. Adequate notice has been provided, and notice of this meeting has been properly posted in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law.
Okay, thank you. So members of the public and those watching at home, our presenter, who's supposed to be here at 6 o'clock, is not here yet. So we are going to have a brief discussion as to if we want to just sit here and stare at each other, or if we can move on with the agenda with some housekeeping stuff. So thoughts? Everybody okay with moving on with the agenda with some housekeeping things? And then if Mr. Forrester shows up, we can then break for his presentation. When he's done, move to the Governor Teachers Awards, and then roll back into our agenda after cake, right?
Yep.
Cake, is there cake tonight?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Everybody,
Promise cake.
everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, the cake. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll go to approval of minutes. Yeah, let's go to approval of minutes, we'll start there. Number one, can I have a motion for the minutes of the work session meeting from March 7th, 2019?
So moved.
Dr. Peak, second. Second. Mr. Sweeney? Questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Bucieri?
Yes.
Mr. Chili?
Abstain.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Abstain.
Mrs. McGee?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Abstain.
Dr. Peak?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Annunziata?
Yes.
Mr. Sparta?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Number two, minutes of the closed session meeting from March 7th, 2019. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Peak, second.
Second.
Mr. Chili, questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Chili?
Abstain.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Abstain.
Mrs. McGee?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Abstain.
Dr. Peak?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Annunziata?
Yes.
Mrs. Bucieri?
Yes.
Mr. Sparta?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Number three, minutes of the special budget meeting from March 12th, 2019. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Peak, second.
Second.
Mr. Sweeney, questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mrs. McGee?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Dr. Peak?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Annunziata?
Yes.
Mrs. Bucieri?
Yes.
Mr. Chili?
Yes.
Mr. Sparta?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Number four, minutes of the public meeting from March 14th, 2019. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Peak, second.
Second.
Mr. Chili, questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mrs. McGee?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Dr. Peak?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Annunziata?
Yes.
Mrs. Bucieri?
Yes.
Mr. Chili?
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mr. Sparta?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Number five, minutes of the closed public meeting from March 14th, 2019. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Dr. Peak, second.
Second.
Ms. Bucieri,
Yep.
questions or comments?
I do have an addition.
Mr. Chili?
Where it notes exit interviews, I would like that section expanded to say that all impacted personnel were going to receive exit interviews, and that that was going to be conducted by the administration and not by board members.
Okay, can I have a motion on the amended minutes?
Motion.
Ms. Bucieri, second.
Second.
Mr. Annunziata, questions or comments on the amended motion that Mr. Chili asked for? Hearing none, we'll go roll call vote.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Yes.
Dr. Peak?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Mr. Annunziata?
Yes.
Mrs. Bucieri?
Yes.
Mr. Chili?
Yes.
Mrs. Coughlin?
Yes.
Mrs. McGee?
Abstain?
Mr. Sparta?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we have some good news. Our presenter showed up, so we were able to take a little housekeeping out of the way. So we'll go back to our front page, and we'll have Mr. Kepnes introduce Mr. Forrester.
I'd like to introduce Doug Forrester. He would like to show a brief video, so if the board would...
We need to hide.
So we're going to go down in front, and then once his presentation is done, then we're going to come back up to answer questions or ask questions. Okay?
And I do have a handout. So if you want to just sit in the front row, I'm just going to show a short video.
Thank you.
And address this packet and then answer all questions.
Are we good? Excellent. My name is Douglas Forrester. I'm very pleased to be here to talk about the future of healthcare. I want to reassure you that your board office is in good shape. I was just there checking it out. And everything's intact. So I apologize for being a little bit late, but I trust that our time will be nonetheless well spent. The purpose of our evening, as I understand, brief as it is to give an overview of a concept of healthcare delivery, which is becoming more and more popular because it is more and more effective. It is something which I understand you are considering, so it would be my purpose tonight to encourage you to go down that path. And I realize there is decision-making as well as questions and so on and so forth. And at the right time, you will make a decision about whether you wish to embark upon this kind of delivery system. But again, I would encourage you to do that. Perhaps a little background would be helpful because it'll give some context of what the Integrity Health model is all about using the Partnership Health Center. And we have a video that we're going to play in just a moment, a very brief one, that'll give you a flavor of what we think the Promised Land looks like. Let me be quick to introduce my Chief Clinical Officer, Judy Lagana, who is here with me tonight. And she will be helping give a clear idea from a clinical perspective of what a Partnership Health Center work is all about. My own involvement with the healthcare industry goes back more years than I can want to confess to right now. But suffice it to say that I used to run the state health benefits plan and enjoyed that and the pension systems as well, back in the time when they were well-funded, I might add. I've founded a pharmacy benefit manager called PBM and sold that, and have been involved with public policy and taught government at Penn, and have a real heart for public sector decision makers such as yourselves, elected and appointed. One of the things that became very clear to me in wrestling with this issue of healthcare is that as it develops and has developed over the past several decades, some of the basic purposes, I think, have been lost. I often speak to various groups and talk about healthcare, and I ask them, well, why do you offer a health benefit plan at all? Why don't you just give employees cash and let them fend for themselves? And I don't usually get very good answers, even from people who I think deserve or should be giving good answers. They might say, well, we've always had a health plan, that's why we offer one. Or they might say, well, we're using it to recruit and retain, good employees. Now, that's close to being a right answer, but it's really not the primary answer. The primary answer is that the whole theory upon which health benefits are based from an employer standpoint, why management money goes to pay health care, is to promote health so that employees at work and play can be productive. The reason that dependents are covered is so that there aren't distractions to the employees, so that they can focus on their work. That's really the underlying theory of why health care is supposed to be offered and paid for. Some people have great access to health care, some people don't. Generally speaking, in public sector plans, in New Jersey particularly, the benefit plans on paper are really quite good. They're generously defined, they've been historically well developed, and they make sense. But the problem is that all are based on two premises, big networks and big discounts, neither of which have anything to do with health. Nothing. There's no correlation of the data at all that having network access promotes health as opposed to going to non-network doctors. And big discounts are good. Everyone likes discounts. I like discounts. You do as well. But again, discounts themselves are unrelated to health. What Integrity Health is all about, and I should probably first give you a little clue, the name Integrity Health is redundant in the sense that integrity is the Latin word for health. It's the ancient idea of wholeness. We've kind of devolved it to just have it be honesty, but it really has to do with being whole and healthy. So that's the purpose for Integrity Health. And what we found is that in order to accomplish the objective of a health plan and focus on delivering better health outcomes, the best mechanism is to give people easy access to a medical home base, which is theirs, dedicated to themselves and their families. And that's what the Partnership Health Center is all about. The Partnership Health Center is the hub of the wheel of the health plan in the sense that on a voluntary basis, people have access to primary care. And we define primary care in a much more robust sense than, let's say, an urgent care center. Urgent care centers have their place, and no doubt about it. But a Partnership Health Center offers a doctor visit, lab, x-ray, pharmacy, pain management in the sense of PT and chiro, and mental health services, behavioral health services. And all these are meant to be integrated around care coordination so that, again, on a voluntary basis, we can facilitate conversations among physicians outside of the health center. We can never tell anybody what we want them to do, or rather, we can tell them what we want them to do. We can't require them to do anything. It's a voluntary plan. It has to be. If we required people to use the health center, it wouldn't work. The paradox of the success and why our health centers are so popular is that people can use it or not as they choose. So on a voluntary basis, they can use the center. On a voluntary basis, they can take recommendations from our clinicians about a specialist that might be consulted. We don't generally do specialty services inside the health center. These are referrals out. Again, on a voluntary basis. If someone doesn't know a dermatologist and a visit to the doctor for a cold reveals that there's a mole on the wrist that needs to be given attention right away, we can facilitate that. If they happen to know a dermatologist, fine, great. They go and see that. We understand that there are certain financial repercussions about network participation and not. And we work with whatever the plan is because we're not a network. We're not even a claim processor per se. What we do is that we manage health plans from the hub of the wheel in order to facilitate the kinds of interactions for healthcare purposes that promote health. We find that even the best doctors often do not have communication with other key professionals because the data systems are so fragmented in the industry. really good doctors don't know that relevant activity is going on by another good doctor. With the patient's permission, we facilitate those kinds of communications, and it isn't boasting to say we've saved people's lives, merely because the system is so dysfunctional often on the outside with regard to providers talking with each other, comparing notes, making sure that medications don't conflict. Those are the kinds of things that we can do, but we can do these things because we believe that ultimately healthcare is a very personal thing. It's an eyeball-to-eyeball kind of contact. If you can't grab someone by the shoulder as a friend and move them across the hall for a consultation with a pharmacist, or even in the case of behavioral health, sometimes that is incredibly valuable. I have been in this industry a long time and was shocked to learn just recently, and as a result, we have mental health counselors in the health centers. 40% of a primary care physician's time, family practice, internist, 40% of that time is actually involved with services that are better handled by a counselor, more efficiently, more effectively. That's the kind of integration we are all about. Let's, as they say, go to the tape, because I'd like you to see an example of another school district that has a partnership health center, and it will give you a flavor, and we would invite, of course, anyone to tour in person, but I think this is the next best thing. Partnership Health Center.
Hi, I'm Doug Forrester, President of Integrity Health. Welcome to our Partnership Health Center, otherwise known as PHC, here in Toms River, New Jersey. Let's take a look inside. Appearance is key to attracting employees and thus saving healthcare dollars. Facility expansion possibilities and easy parking are strongly recommended. PHC offers integration of pharmacy and medical data with its unique on-site pharmacy and the advantages of one-stop service. A key to PHC's success is minimal wait time. Because it's exclusive to members, same-day appointments as well as rapid follow-up visits are possible. The child's playroom helps. Because PHC is staffed by salaried employees exclusively focused on plan members, no payments or insurance forms are required. This speeds the process and puts patients' needs first. Although important pain management treatments like physical therapy and chiropractic are available on site, PHC also wants to nurture the concept of total life health, which includes fitness and wellness after remedial treatment is successful. Adequate professional staff with no economic incentive to rush patients, coupled with properly fitted exam rooms, promote a focus on effective, reassuring healthcare. On-site X-ray capability allows easy data integration with electronic medical records and collaboration with off-site physician specialists. One-stop shopping is more than convenient. It promotes health. Instead of running all over town to get lab work done, PHC has it in-house. Like our other services, a no-copay approach is very popular, but it also eliminates distractions, which can compromise health. Emergency rooms are needed only for extreme situations. Many ER visits are a significant waste of time and money. PHC's capabilities extend beyond the simple doctor visit to include key urgent care procedures, such as sutures and minor burns. PHC is a unique concept in effective healthcare. It is a primary care facility not open to the public, but individually dedicated to employers. You too can have your own. Doctor visits, drug dispensing, lab and X-ray services, and pain management treatments are available on-site without any copays. But it is also the center of wellness, disease management, specialty referral, and care coordination for the entire health plan. PHC truly becomes the hub of the health plan wheel. One of the most attractive aspects of PHC is that use of any of its services is wholly voluntary by plan members. Real cost savings for everyone are big, but no cost shifting or change in benefit levels is required.
The model for Integrity Health drew me in such that I wanted to become a part of it. The model that we have here at Integrity Health, and particularly here at our Partnership Health Center, is one that really creates the medical home model. Our physicians, our nurses, our other providers are very happy because they're working in an environment where they don't have to deal with the complicated insurance system, submitting claims. They come here and they practice medicine. I think this is a true home run for everyone.
PHC is an easy win-win for employers and employees alike. Lower costs through better health is the key.
I should mention a note about, pardon me, our Chief Physician Executive, Joe Calabro. He's somebody we very lucky to have. He used to run the U.S. Army's health care plan, the Western Division, California, Nevada, and Oregon. He also is chairman of emergency medicine at Seton Hall University. Joe has a long resume, and I'd use all my time if I were to show it to you. So let me just say that he's part and parcel of the success of what the Integrity Health model is all about. Now, the handouts I've given you are ones that I would prefer not to go through page by page because it would take too long. But it's basically made up of 3 parts. And I believe that we have shared those parts with your administrators in the past. So this is nothing new in itself, but I thought you might like to have it directly now. The first few pages are a kind of a cutesy cartoon version of the future of healthcare. From our standpoint, the question of whether you would rather pull a vehicle or have your vehicle with a square wheels or round wheels, is a pretty easy answer. Everybody wants a round wheel. The problem is that, from our vantage point, we don't think that healthcare is configured like a round wheel today. We think, frankly, it's structured like an old stone square wheel that people are trying to roll, and it just doesn't roll. The pieces of healthcare you'll see on the handout are pretty traditional plan pieces. There's a claim processing piece, there's a pharmacy piece, there's a primary care piece, there's an audit piece. There are all the pieces of a healthcare plan, provider network and out-of-network relationships and so on and so forth. What we've done is that we've taken those same pieces that you're used to and your employees are used to, and we've just put them together differently surrounding the wheel, that hub of the Partnership Health Center. So we're not talking about a change in benefit coverage. That usually makes people nervous. If I were to come and say, I have a great deal for you, but what we're going to do is that we're going to force people into a certain place and limit your benefits, and we're going to save you money. I mean, those are the conversations that are going all over New Jersey because, frankly, people are trying to save money. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that the only real way of saving healthcare dollars is to produce better healthcare outcomes. That's it. Health is the most financially attractive condition of all, and we have it in the data. We've developed this concept, and we've had enough time sifting through the data and making the kinds of changes that are necessary to make sure that we address all of the concerns, whether it's an employee bargaining unit concern, whether it's a financial issue, whether it's certain providers which are locally important, whatever it may be. We literally can do anything because we're not an insurance company. We're dealing with health plan management. And the economics of this model are different. I mean, I've created insurance companies and I know how they work, and I've done a pharmacy benefit manager, and that worked, and I sold that. We took risk. In this case, we've done it differently. We have no economic conflicts of interest with what we do. The economics of the model are very clear and simple. We get paid a management fee, and that's fixed. So whoever uses the health center just becomes part of the cost of the health plan. So we don't get more money if more people use it. We also pay a lot of attention on where people go in terms of why they go there and how much it costs. What we have found is that there are so many economic conflicts of interest in the healthcare industry itself that often people don't get the best care because they're moved to places that don't necessarily provide it, and yet the costs keep coming in. So the last little cartoon piece is, a caveman holding up a wheel as if it's a new invention and suggesting to his friends that, gee, you might want to try this because they're trying to pull a cart across a field with square wheels. So that's the first little introduction of what the Integrity Health model is all about. The following two are, one, a sample of how we do a financial proposal, because part of our desire is to make sure that everybody knows where the money is going. Certainly everything has to be compliant with patient confidentiality. That's a requirement that everybody wants to honor, let alone have to. But there is much that can be done with regard to showing how resources that are valuable, both from the standpoint of the taxpayer, the school board representing the taxpayers, as well as the employees, because Chapter 78 has included them in that financial calculation. So how do we move the resources that are available in the most efficient ways? And we go through a rather detailed explanation of how that happens. So this isn't just buying a pig in a poke. This is a very careful financial analysis. And I have no doubt about the fact that we provide far more information to anybody in terms of a healthcare sponsor than they've ever seen before. We just do. And part of the reason we can do that is because we don't have any economic conflicts of interest. Often data that is disseminated is very confusing, it's very limited, it's very distilled and summarized, and frankly, from my standpoint, and as I mentioned, I've been in this a long time, it's very misleading data. What we want to do is to help you understand what your healthcare liabilities are today and what they might be like tomorrow if there's a more efficient and effective healthcare delivery system that is set up. It won't work if your employees don't get better health outcomes. So from their standpoint, they like it. All of our union relationships, which we consider to be very important, are happy because they understand we're there for one reason, and that is to keep their members well, to give them access, to troubleshoot problems that come along in any healthcare system. In our health centers, not only do we have clinicians of the sort that I mentioned, we also have a claim specialist that is there to just take the problems of healthcare off of the employees' desks, because often they're struggling. They might have a serious illness. Perhaps they've had a death in the family, whatever it may be. They will often come in and just dump unopened envelopes from whatever the carrier is that's handling the network and say, please help me. And we do that because we believe moving aside all the problems to getting to health is the best way to get to health. The last little segment there is a sample. As I mentioned, the first numbers are an example of a client proposal, and it shows you how we deal with the money. The last 2 pages are a real example of a way in which we save money in 3 buckets. Some we save because of efficiencies. If people aren't going to the emergency room, which costs $1,500 a pop, and they go to the health center, and it's only a couple $100, that's an immediate and easy way to calculate savings. But there are other ways to calculate savings as well, having to do with making sure that care coordination stops bad things from happening. Better handling of pharmacy prescriptions so that people aren't on 16 maintenance medications, which is a recipe for disaster. In many cases, not all cases, sometimes the 16 are warranted. But the point is that attention to detail with the member's permission yields great financial value. And that is what the last 2 pages sketch out. So I've given you an overview. You've seen a health center. That one is based in Toms River. That's for a population, or a employee population of about 1,800 employees. We have other locations. We picked up Somerset County, and we're seeing that success there as well. Brick Township signed up last month, and we're building a health center for them. And one of the reasons why I think that's significant and especially meaningful to us is that Brick has been one of those school districts selected for massive state aid reductions. And they took this step because they were confident that getting a hold of their health plan liabilities over time is the only way that they are going to be able to financially survive. We realize that it isn't the most important line item. The important line item involves salaries and things of that sort. But the health care piece is a crucial piece. So we would encourage you to take advantage of the options here. And I'm happy to answer any questions now or at any other time. I thank you that you have given us this opportunity, and I hope that we can continue to have a dialogue. This is a good thing. Yes, thanks.
I think first we'll open it up to questions from the board to you, and we're also honoring quite a few teachers tonight, so we have some teachers in the audience. So if they have any questions too, I'd like them to ask them of you while you're here as well, if the board is okay.
More questions, the merrier.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Just start to shoot.
I'm curious about the health center and the cost for constructing or renovating an existing structure. Who bears that cost?
Good question. All of the costs are borne by the health plan. These are self-funded health plans, and that is an important point, so I'm glad you asked the question. There are two basic ways of funding a health care plan. One is a fully insured plan in which you basically buy a product from the insurance company. And that's a fixed premium, usually defined in terms of per member per month, and that's how the money is spent. Then a self-funded plan, which is dominant in the private sector. Once you get above a couple hundred employees, most private sector companies will self-insure their health plan because actuarially it makes sense. In the public sector, this has been slower to come, and part of the reason why is because it was only a few years ago that the legislature in a special taxpayer property tax joint session determined that self-funding for public entities is appropriate and should be encouraged as an option. So all of the costs for the health plan will include the health center. Now, the first thing that is important for me to emphasize is that the costs of the facility itself are whatever we would agree on. In other words, we don't do anything that our clients don't pre-approve because it's their health plan money. The costs of a facility are pretty minimal. In most cases, we have the facility in the public entity itself. We can lease space also, and ultimately the health center costs for the facility become part of the lease. But that's pennies on the dollar compared to what you're paying for health care. It's a very small amount. For example, Long Branch Township Board of Education is relevant to this discussion because I believe that your interest on the part of your administrators was born from a presentation that they saw at the School Boards Association meeting last fall in Atlantic City. That school board is somewhat similar to yours in size. They retrofitted a wing of their building, and it cost them a relatively small amount of money. It was less than $300,000. But that's the gift that keeps on giving, because that was only a couple % of what their health plan costs are. In the case of Brick, we're amortizing the cost of the health center over, even though it's in their building, over the cost of the life of the contract. The real cost, which is the doctors and nurses and pharmacy supplies, you're already paying for. There's nothing new there. All we're doing is we're moving out of one bucket and putting them in a more efficient bucket, namely your own health center. You're already paying for the doctor visits. You're already paying for the labs. You're already paying for the x-rays. You're already paying for all of those kinds of things, except you're just doing it in a less efficient environment. So the net cost is not the gross cost of the health center, because most of the health center costs you're just paying for in a different way already.
It is an open meeting, not a closed meeting. Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else?
The school districts that you mentioned
Yes.
are much bigger than we are.
Long
Do we
Branch
have
is-
the numbers of employees to support
Great
the
question.
program?
Great question. It's my understanding that you have about 750 employees. Long Branch has 850. Toms River, of course, is much larger. Brick, and I don't think it's inappropriate for me to share that, they're 1,200 today, but because of things that are happening on the state aid front, it's unlikely that that will be sustained, over the next few years. So the size doesn't matter. I would say that the minimum size would be between 500 and 600, and the reason why is because you want to make sure you're using doctor time well. You don't want anybody twiddling their thumbs. You want to make sure that there's sufficient traffic to warrant that kind of payment. But I will say that it is critical to note that the utilization numbers are remarkable. In the industry, and I won't bore you with the growth of the industry, it started out as an occupational safety or occupational health thing where a manufacturing plant would have a first aid station, stuff like that. So growing over that, over time, there have been a number of firms in this business, but almost all of them have utilization numbers of about 5 visits per employee per year, including dependents. So if you have 1,000 employees, you'd expect 5,000 patient visits. You'd expect 2,500 patient visits. That's pretty much what everybody's experience is. Ours is almost twice that, and part of the reason why is because we work very hard with the employee bargaining groups to help them understand this is actually a benefit enhancement for the employees. And the reason it's a benefit enhancement is because there are no co-pays for services at the health center. No co-pays at all. We don't get involved with any financial transactions. We have found that it is far more efficient to use healthcare dollars to provide easy access to healthcare, which includes prescription drugs, than trying to mess around collecting these co-pays that ultimately don't do anything to encourage health. Is that responsible?
Very good, thank you.
Have any of your current clients expanded the center to include other districts to increase the population?
Thank you for asking. That's a great question. And the answer is yes, in the sense that two things have happened. In the case of the school districts that I mentioned, they have established reciprocity. And what that means is that they are allowing each to use each other's health centers. So the staff at Brick Board of Ed will be able to use Toms River, and Toms River will be able to use Long Branch, and vice versa. And we find that that's extremely helpful because, again, part of what we're trying to do is to encourage the access to dependents, because that is as important as anything. In fact, we have very good utilization numbers, extraordinary utilization numbers. We see about 90% of the employees in Toms River and about 80% of the dependents. It's the dependents number that is most important to me, because it means that people are going home, getting their dependents and bringing them back. And somebody might say, well, why would they do that? Well, one is that, this is first-class care. This isn't, secondary care. These are the best physicians. I'm going to have Judy comment on that in just a moment. But it's also one-stop shopping. By the time you go over there to get a doctor visit, and you go over there to get a lab, and you go over there to pick up a medication, and you go over there perhaps for some kind of counseling or other service, you add that up, that's very time-consuming. A lot better to drive a little farther and have one-stop shopping, same-day appointment, and no copay. And that's why our utilization numbers are so large. In Toms River, with an 18,000 member population, 1,800 employee population, we see about 10 visits per employee per year, which means upwards of 18,000 patient visits in one form or another. And the numbers are the same in Long Branch, and the numbers we just started in Somerset, but they are already up, heading toward that same ratio. Oh, the other point, Somerset County, because it's a county, is going to welcome other entities to the health center as part of their health plan. And there are a couple ways to work that out. One is a shared risk pool, and other is just a reciprocity arrangement. But I believe that Somerset County is on the path to include its municipalities, if they choose, to have access to the health center.
Now, you mentioned about 700 employees. All of our employees are not insured. I don't know what our risk pool is. I would say it's probably in the 450 range. Does that still meet a criteria for you, or no?
We would have to look at the numbers. We're a numbers organization, and we're not bashful about saying what the financial repercussions are of any given mix of employees. The utilization of the health center needs to be supported in terms of making sure that physician and nurse time is well used. I'd like Judy to say a word about what an average visit looks like and why it is that people want to come.
Good evening. I just want to say a few words just about the type of visits that we do have and the clinical team and the medical team. The medical team that we have at all the health centers start with your medical director. Medical director would be a full-time family medicine board-certified physician. We like our physicians to be within the community. They have access to the health care at all times. They are accountable for that health center, and they have a 24/7 type of approach to that health center and to the employees and to the members that they serve. We also employ nurse practitioners. We employ physician assistants. We have a clinical team as well that includes RNs for nurse managers that run the health centers for us and operate the health centers. LPNs, we have certified medical assistants, your certified radiology technologists we have as well. We have mental health counselors that are certified in drug addiction, substance abuse, mental health comes in an array of issues, and behavioral health as well. We have physical therapists, we have chiropractors, as we spoke about earlier. Some of our centers have an acupuncturist. We also have a pediatrician, board certified at one of our health centers, at the request of the school district. We have employed her as well. So again, that is our full team. We have a phlebotomist there as well. Again, what we do real well for our members is we do same-day scheduling. And what that looks like is you can get up in the morning and you say, you know what, I really want to see my physician today. I'm not feeling well, or my family. We've had families come in, mom with their children when they're not feeling well, especially in the wintertime, as you know, with flu season. We give out the flu vaccines. We have events that we go out to the schools to provide flu shots for them and to their families. We have different hours of the day. People can just walk in to get flu vaccines. We really try to accommodate all members to come in for same-day scheduling. That's very important to them, unless they're specific on who the provider is that they may want to see. That may be a day, within a day or two, but never more than that. We have different types of visits. We have anything from anywhere from physicals to sick visits, urgent care needs, splinting, accident, minor accident, minor splinting can be done. We can do x-rays there, not feeling well, as I said before. We can do primary care. We do disease management. We do a lot of, with the chronic disease management when it comes to respiratory issues, when it comes to diabetes. We have a full service for diabetes, for education, support groups. We have care coordination teams that are your RN level, that work with the medical directors on working with the highest, the most needed type of patients. The ones that may have confusion on where to go, what to do for their disease type of profile. So we help them. with that journey for them. We work with their physicians. We don't tell them who to go to or what to do, but we work with them and the family. We do a lot with substance abuse. Our mental health counselor and our care coordination team, we work with what we call a rapid response team. So we have put together a 24/7 on-call team for anyone that is in need of a situation, a crisis situation, where they need help now to get into some type of detox facility or ER environment, that we can immediately place them in a safe place for them to get the help that they need. And then work with them on the intensive outpatient treatment, and then again work with them alongside with them and their family to hopefully get them into a stable environment and have some counseling done through the health center. And again, this is all done through our staff, highly confidential. Everything here is done on a privacy level, as you know. We do have an electronic medical record that we use as well at the health center. So all of our tools, all of our equipment is state-of-the-art, all up to date. So again, we have easy access to the medical records that we need. We're able to provide medical records to the outside providers when necessary. We have relationships with the outside physicians. We have relationships with the hospitals and the hospitalists taking care of our patients in the inpatient care facilities. So there's many different type of relationships and many different types of visits that we see at the health center. I'm trying to combine a lot of information all in a few minutes, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, you've been through this a few times with different districts, and it's a two-part question. So in those districts that have changed over, have you seen it more of an evolution to where they go to self-insured and then they take the step to health center, or has it been typically straight to health center and self-insurance and the barriers associated with them doing that?
A great question. We have seen both examples. We've taken clients out of the state health benefits plan. They decided to leave because they've seen the trajectory of that as being unsustainable. That was the case in Long Branch, and I think those who were there to listen to Superintendent Salvatore talk about it, he made that particular point. We've also found that individuals who have gone for self-insurance because their numbers warrant it, I mean, actually speaking, if you're more than a few hundred employees, you should probably be self-insured. Just that's how the math works. But the problem is that when you move from fully funded to self-insurance, you do not in itself, by that action, change the financing or liability of the plan. In other words, you change the way you pay for the plan, but you don't change the liabilities. It does nothing. It's merely a financial move. What we do is raise self-funding to its highest and best expression, because we go after, at a granular level, the issue of health outcomes. And because there is an actual place dedicated to your employees, remember this is not open to the public, we have the ability, with their consent and participation, to change those health pathways and put them on a better health pathway, which reduces costs. So I've seen, in fact, I was talking with one proposal. It was a group. They were in the state health benefits plan. We did an evaluation for them. And I very much had hoped that they would, join us in the Integrity Health family. And they had a broker who, well, I won't go into that. Let me just say that they took them out of the state health benefits plan to put them in a self-insured environment, and they went back into the state health benefits plan a year later. Now, that just is not a smart thing to do. That kind of event indicates bad planning, as far as I'm concerned. What you need to do is to realize that ultimately you've got to manage your liabilities, and liability management requires a health center, in my opinion. And that's my opinion, but Integrity Health is a result of my opinion.
And what have you found to be the biggest barrier for districts making this step? What gets in the way? What makes it most difficult?
Well, I think anytime there is a move to away from fully insured plan to a self-insured plan, there's an adjustment. It's a different management, obligation. What we try to do is to take all of the work off of your administrators because they have enough to do. If you move to self-insurance without someone who is managing the whole plan, it can be a problem. I also think that there is a natural bias, frankly, for public sector accounts because that's what's happened over the past decades. Well, you know, here's the only way to go. You know, this is the dominant carrier and the only game in town, and people get the idea that somehow there aren't any alternatives, so nothing is sufficiently explored. Moreover, the way that the payments work for placement of business is that the carriers pay the consultants. We think that's an economic conflict of interest. So those are some candid comments in response to what are the biggest barriers.
Thank you.
So can you give us an idea of kind of how many clients you serve, the diversity of the clientele, maybe how long some of those clients have been with you, and a sort of cost trajectory, you know, how much healthcare costs have gone up and how much you've been able to control those?
Yeah, we started with our beta client 10 years ago. We brought Long Branch aboard in 2015. We picked up Somerset County, started operations within the last year. Brick, as I mentioned. So the diversity is pretty much, you know, extensive. We're doing a new initiative which is being finalized now by the state. The first responders came to us, state police, local police, fire, corrections officers, and said, listen, we really like what you're doing with the Partnership Health Center. Would you put one up for us? And I mean, I kind of joke about it now, but you know, you don't like to say no to people with guns. So we started to talk and whatnot, and the result of that is we're going to do a first responders center that will be dedicated to first responders. That will be a different model because we will be billing whatever insurance carrier somebody has, you know, in their wallet. But it's going to be especially a pilot program by the state of New Jersey because they want data. They're having a hard time getting data, and we can give them data once we start underway. So in terms of the breadth of public sector experience, you know, we're doing everything in New Jersey.
Can you speak a little bit to how this change from a fully funded healthcare plan to your model directly affects the end user, how you maintain the same level of benefit and the requirements of equal to or better with their current plan?
Right. The nice thing about a self-funded plan is that ultimately the plan sponsor, which would be a school district, and I'll give you, you know, examples where in Tom's River, from time on a rather regular basis, people come into the claim advocate, which we have sitting in the health center, and they'll say, gee, you know, I went to this physician and he said he was in network, but it turned out he's not, and I'm getting balanced billed. What do I do? We run interference there, and we protect them, and we've been quite successful in doing that. Or they might come back and say, gee, I've got a balanced bill. I knew it was an out-of-network provider, but you know, it's 10 times what I initially was told. We have ways to intervene and settle those kinds of claims and protect the patient and protect the plan. There are other instances in which someone would say, well, this isn't the way that benefits were processed before. For example, when we started in Tom's River, you know, we set up shop at the health center and people came into the health center. First thing that happened is that we had a lot of employees that came back and said, you know, doggone it, I knew this wasn't equal to or better than. We're being charged a copay for an emergency room visit. And, you know, we looked at the plan document, which is supposed to govern this thing, and it said that there's supposed to be a copay for emergency room use if you're not admitted. So we didn't really know what happened. Well, it turned out what occurred is that the carrier who had handled the case for many years had just, without informing the client, just changed the rules, and it was too much time and trouble to collect the copay, so they just ordered that all these things be processed without copay. Well, this had gone on for 4 years. Well, you know, the public bargaining group said, hey, you know, equal to or better than. We went through a whole bargaining cycle here. this isn't fair. And so the school district, I think wisely said, that's right, okay. You know, we're sorry that we weren't watching the carrier more carefully, but we will honor that. So that's an instance in which a self-funded plan literally can do what it chooses within certain plan parameters that it sets. If you want to add something, it can be added. Once you set up a plan design, people have a right to expect it to be administered honestly, and we take great care to do that. There are a number of times that we have overridden the claim processor and said, for example, a pre-certification. About a year ago in Long Branch, we ran into a number of situations where oncology case, the claim processor was denying claims for, or denying pre-certifications for certain kinds of pharmaceutical solutions for an oncology patient. And we researched it. We found out that, frankly, the local doctor knew more than the people sitting in Arizona who were doing the medical management. So we overrode the TPA, the claim processor, on behalf of the health plan. We informed the school district that that's what we were doing and gave them the reasons, and they said, sure, that's the right thing to do. So you can, when you have a self-funded plan, solve problems that come along every day. But today, the problems are solved principally to the disadvantage of the patients.
Anybody have anything else? I'd like to open it up to the floor if there's anybody in the audience who has a question for Mr. Forrester. If you could just come up and use the mic, so that way you're picked up on the live feed as well.
Hi, Shannon Irish, employee. I was wondering, is this a plan that would cover the workman's comp cases? Would this facility be something that we might use for workman's comp cases?
You know, that's a good question. Generally speaking, the best way for me to answer that is that we can do whatever the school district would ask us to do. It would be our recommendation, and happily they seem to usually take our recommendations. We think it's unwise to have health plan doctors also serve as workers' compensation physicians. So we would recommend that they be separated for that function of workers' comp. However, the care of employees both before and after an injury absolutely is something we can do.
Okay, so things such as therapies?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And to add to that, another example would be really a good thing. We had in physical therapy and in chiropractic and whatnot, there are rules in all of the medical plans in which there's something called medical necessity, and once something has plateaued, it can't continue. We found an instance in which a staff member had very serious back issues, was refused treatment by a PT on the physical therapist on the ground on good grounds, saying, "Look, you've plateaued. We cannot improve your condition." But it became very clear to us she was a scoliosis, suffered from scoliosis. It became very clear to us that she would be better off being serviced by physical therapists in the health center that could stabilize her condition instead of it deteriorating quickly. So because we have the authority to do that, and we have the means because there was a physical therapist in the health center, we could do that. If we were just a regular provider on the outside, we would not be able to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Anybody else from the board?
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Since you've been operating in, say, Brick or Tom's River,
Yes.
the costs, how have they changed?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't answer that. Somebody, I apologize. The nice thing is that Tom's River has exactly the same plan as the state health benefits plan. It's a mirror plan. They actually have a slightly more challenging population because it's the worst cancer cluster in the country. So they have a lot of issues there. Despite that, Tom's River has had a health plan trend 1/3 of the states.
So if the state's going up 6, you're going up 2?
Correct.
Okay.
And usually it's more like between 3 and 4 and 11 and 12.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have data on, there are some more challenging, I guess, medical issues. Do you have data on, I guess, the types of patients that are, denied coverage through the self-insurance plan versus through, a typical insurance arrangement? And I guess how the stop-loss carriers,
Right.
Affect those decisions? I guess, I don't know all of the correct terminology to be using, but do you understand what my
I think
question
so.
is?
You've touched on something very important. Let me emphasize again. With a self-funded plan, it's your plan. So if anything, the patients are better off because determinations can be made according to the plan document, and there's no incentive to try to cut corners and disadvantage patients. Whatever the plan document is, it is. One of the things that we do, which actually it's difficult and time-consuming, and I get annoyed every time we get into it. When we take over a client, what happens is that if there's a change in the network, we have to convert the old networks or carriers' summary plan description, the plan document, and convert it into the language of the new carrier. Let's say if it's going from Verizon to Aetna, or Aetna to United, or Cigna to Horizon, whatever it may be. You'd think that a plan design document would be the same. You'd say, okay, here's what's covered. You'd give it to somebody, and they would be able to administer it exactly the same as somebody else. It should be that way, but it's not. That is not how the industry is. There are more tricks to processing claims than anybody could possibly imagine. And it's unfortunate. I think it's wrong, but it is the way things are. When you have a self-funded plan, you at least have a safety net to cut through some of those problems. Now, what we don't do is to bring to the school board decisions about particular cases, about whether to cover something or not. You don't want that, nobody wants that, and we don't do that. If we feel that there is an instance in which the plan design as written just doesn't quite match the facts of the case, because life is about details. We might say, look, here's a case, we would recommend X. If, the plan sponsor thinks otherwise, that's fine. We've never been told, no, we don't like your recommendation. So generally, the administrators are out of it, the school board certainly is out of it, patient confidentiality reigns, and even on a procedural basis, we do what we believe will advance health on the part of the patient, and it always turns out to be to the benefit of the plan, and the reason why is because health is the most financially attractive condition of all. The nice thing about public sector work, which I consider we're in, is that in the private sector, people get different health plan every 18 to 24 months. That's the national average. Either because they switch jobs, or their company switches health carriers, or their company moves, or whatever it may be. In the public sector, school districts, counties, towns, you're around always in the most positive sense. You aren't going away, and your employees will be here on average 20 years. What we're offering here, what we're proposing about a health center that is yours, dedicated to your employees, is that you can, and your employees can, capture the full financial value of good health pathways over that period of time. So many health decisions are made, in my opinion, by carriers that are penny-wise and pound-foolish. And they're penny-wise because they're dealing with a 12-month period. And they're pound-foolish. I'm dating myself. I'm quoting Benjamin Franklin now. But you get the point. We want to be able to look at your employee as a career employee and deal with their health on that basis. And happily, there's a nice coincidence between the best health care and the least expensive health care, assuming that you're dealing with it over time.
If we were to go with your program tomorrow, when could we be up and running?
Great question. If we had the privilege of working with you and you gave us the green light, there are 4 pathways that we would develop in a parallel fashion. and Judy's involved with a lot of them. But the first one is a facilities question. If you have a place that would be suited, first floor access, easy parking, a discrete entrance, okay? We don't want somebody walking in the, the center of the school and just turning a right. No, a separate kind of entrance. If you have such a facility, as Long Branch did, they sequestered a part of a wing, and that's exactly what Brook is doing. That's the facility, and we then go to work and we come up with a budget, and we show you the budget, and you approve the budget because these are healthcare dollars. It's your money, and so we come back with recommendations. We then retrofit the facility, buy the equipment. Judy goes out and hires the staff, first-class doctors and nurses and relative to professionals. We meet with your employee population to get them excited about the arrival. All of that process takes, I think in a reasonable scenario, 120 days. Now, we have done it in less. We got a final approval in July from Long Branch, and we opened October 1st. We prefer a little more time. 120 days is better. But it doesn't take that long, particularly if you have the space. So I would say 120 days from designation of the space.
I just want to put a disclaimer out there to Mr. Sweeney's question to the teachers. We are not going to be deciding on this tomorrow. Okay, this is just the
No,
very
I was looking for a
step.
time frame. That's all I was.
My heart was all aflutter there.
So I didn't want anybody getting panicky there. So this is the first step of a long
say nothing
process
about
of
Judy.
evaluation. Anything else?
I think you might have a difficult time getting doctors up here. We're not like Tom's River or Brick. This is much more rural.
Well, I think one of the things that we've found is a lot of physicians, a lot of really good physicians, a lot of really good nurses, and pharmacists just want to do what they went to school to do. These are, by and large, good people who want to be involved with the delivery of care, and so many of them have had it up to here with the bureaucracy of medicine. They don't like it. They get second-guessed about what they've done, or they can't get a pre-certification approval, or the economics force them to spend 8 minutes with a patient, which is the national average. They don't like that. So we have, the doctor who is the medical director that Judy hired for Somerset County is one of the best doctors around. She ran one of the principal departments at RWJ Barnabas in Somerville. She's a perfect example, but the other medical directors are as well. That's the answer. We're not worried about being able to get really good people, because it's often the people who are really good who say, can I do that? We pay them a market rate, and you see what that is. I mean, we're paying our medical directors a very comfortable living, which they deserve. And that's why we get the best.
Thank you. Good. Anybody from the public? Last call. All right. Thank you, Mr. Forrester, for coming.
I'm grateful for your time. Thank you all very much. I hope we have the privilege of working with you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, what I would like to do next is we'd like to have Sage Cox, Ethan Pettix, and Carlos Padan come down. We're going to set you up on the microphone right over here.
Good evening. We are autism. a wellness ambassador from Grand Meadow.
Carlos is going to be coming up to give you guys pins that we have made and we've been selling at Glen Meadow for autism awareness.
How much are you selling them for so we could pay him for them?
It depends. The ribbons, we've been selling them for $3. Our one puzzle piece the kids have been painting are 50 cents. And then we have 2 pieces that are $1, 3 pieces that are $3, and we have 4 pieces that I think the kids have been selling for $3. They decided to change the price this year.
Mrs. Brady, do you have the numbers from last year on how many pins and things that were created?
No, we don't.
Yes.
We never kept numbers, but we kept money.
There was
kept some
hundreds.
money.
Yeah, I know you kept them.
Hundreds and hundreds.
Right.
And the kids will be talking about it.
Good, okay.
5 years ago, Mr. BOE and Mr. Werner cracked, started a fundraiser to bring awareness to autism. We started to make pins out of puzzle pieces. Our little fundraiser raised over $1,000. The money was donated to autism awareness.
The following year, we expanded production to include puzzle ornaments for the holidays and continued our pin sale in April. We raised over $1,700 and the money was donated to SCARC programs. Our classes decided to donate the money to a more local foundation.
The next year, we continue with our holiday puzzle ornament and added holiday chocolates. We again raised about $800 and the money was once again donated to SCARC.
After a couple of years, we decided to start the fundraising again. This year, we have been selling our puzzle piece and ribbon pins, but have added clothespins, puzzle piece magnets. To date, we have raised $600. All of the proceeds raised in the month of April will once again be donated to SCARC.
Mrs. Ranzan and I started this 5 years ago just for fun. And we ended up saying, you know what, we're probably only going to make $100. We were shocked when we made $1,000. So we keep doing it every year, and actually people look forward to it, expecting us to do it. So when Mrs. Ranzan and I were reunited at Glen Meadow this year, we just started again. Sage has been doing it for the 5 years with us. So we figured this was a great send-off to the 8th grade going to the high school to do this once again with them.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you for the ribbons.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Okay, thank you very much. Did a wonderful job. Ethan, you have a radio announcer's voice. Sage, 5 years of doing the same, right? Aren't you tired of making those pins? No? God bless you. All right, I'd like to introduce Maddie LeBance, and Maddie's going to introduce us to Olivia Hopp. Maddie is from Vernon. Olivia is from Germany. While Maddie's coming down, I want to congratulate her. She's going to represent this school at the All-State Dinner at the Pines in Edison this weekend.
Good evening. My name is Maddie LeBance, and I'm a senior at Vernon Township High School. I would like to thank you for welcoming me to speak to you at this evening's Board of Education meeting. First of all, I would like to introduce to you my cousin from Germany, Olivia Hopp, who is staying with my family and will be attending classes at the high school until the end of the year.
Hello, my name is Olivia. I'm very excited to be here, and the first couple of days have been a lot of fun and were very exciting. I'm looking forward to a great time, and I'm very thankful for this opportunity.
Here are some of the highlights from the high school. Congratulations to the VTHS Academic Decathlon team who had a tremendous showing on the state level of the 2019 ACDEC competition. The team won a total of 9 medals. Congratulations to Christian Fieldhouse, Sam DuPont, David Rusnak, Shane Brennan, Peter Fetz, Dan McKeon, and Katie Hertz. Members of the Vernon Township High School DECA chapter traveled to Atlantic City for the annual State Career Development Conference. In total, 59 students competed as individuals and teams in 24 different events. After 3 days of competition, several Vernon students were rewarded on stage for their accomplishments at the conference. The following students finished in the top 6 in the events and will have the ability to compete at the International Career Development Conference in Orlando, Florida at the end of April. Public Relations Project, Michael Axiotis, Brielle Eilinger, and Katie Smaldone. Human Resources Management, Ryan Hainzel. Business Finance Series, Daniel McKeon. Independent Business Plan, Ryan Hainzel and Alton Ukella. Finance Operations Research, Daniel McKeon and Emma McKeon. A few of our sports teams traveled to warmer climates to get ready for the spring season. The coaches and administrators heard many accolades about our students' outstanding behavior and sportsmanship, and they would like to thank the Board of Education for making these trips possible. Congratulations to the theater department for their outstanding production of this year's spring musical 9 to 5. Congratulations are in order for Lindsay McAloney for directing another very successful show. The Senior Citizen Appreciation Dinner Theater was a huge success thanks to the assistance of many, many volunteers and the generosity of so many of our staff members and families. Thank you for any role you played in making this event a wonderful one. Our Keith Hawkins presentation was a great experience for our sophomore class since they had missed the program as freshmen. The VTHS SEA once again helped to support the program, and we are most grateful for their assistance. Our Wind Ensemble, Jazz Express, and Symphonic Band 42nd Annual Pops Concert was wonderful again this year. This year's Shark Tank and Hackathon was once again a memorable experience. 3 teams from the high school competed to solve a problem over a 12-hour period, which culminated with a presentation to the president, to the Board of Education, members of the VEF, administrators, and parents. Each team developed unique ways of assisting the Vernon Township School District with its new budgetary constraints. Congratulations to Dan McKeon and Alton Ukella, who were awarded first place. The high school recently hosted our first STEM League competition at Vernon Township High School, which was organized by our STEM coaches, Mr. Bruno, Mr. DeVore, and Mr. Foco. The goal of the Interscholastic STEM League is to create an academic competition environment much like that of interscholastic sports. 6 high school teams traveled to VTHS to compete along with a Vernon team. Our competition involved the students making gravity jousting vehicles according to the parameters given to them in their design briefs. Jen Fowler and her hospitality class catered the event and handled quite an undertaking. The food and service was marvelous, truly setting Vernon apart from other sites. On April 3rd, Brendan Kiley visited VTHS to speak to our sophomores. Mr. Kiley is the author of All American Boys, among other novels. This is his second visit to the high school, and he was very well received. On April 13th, our students attended the annual NJ Technology Student Association State Conference/competition on the campus of TCNJ. Our highlight was Patrick Flagg and Ryan Lally taking 3rd place in the Structure, Design, and Engineering category for their bridge trestle performance. Yesterday, our students went to NJIT for the CDC Panasonic Design Challenge Finals. Our team worked very hard on all stages of this competition since last December. They were one of the final 20 high schools who were competing in this year's event. They won the prestigious Best Innovative Design Award over all the other participating teams in this year's event. Our student council, under the guidance of Christy Riegler, is organizing a spring pep rally, which will be held tomorrow afternoon. Mrs. Lisa Herkler is organizing a Clay Club and Empty Bowls event from 2 to 7 p.m. tomorrow afternoon in the VTHS Senior CAF. All proceeds from the event will be donated to the Harvest House. Finally, our CTE programs have received special recognition by the New Jersey Department of Education. Representatives from the department will be visiting 21 counties, and in each county they are choosing one school to honor, and VTHS will be the one school in Sussex County to receive such a visit. On Monday, April 29th, representatives will tour some of our CTE programs. We are very excited to share our exceptional teachers, our gifted students, and their remarkable work with these representatives. Thank you for inviting us to this month's Board of Education meeting. Enjoy the spring break. We will see you again next month.
thank you very much. And Olivia, I knew your mother in high school, and it's like looking in a mirror. The Highlands genes and the LeBans genes are very, very strong, to say the least. We'll move on to letter F, presentation of the following recipients. Board members, we're going to go down and hand out plaques.
Okay, this is probably our most favorite evening.
Absolutely.
Because we get to talk about the excellence that we see every day. For those of you that are family friends, I want to thank you personally. For those people who are married to teachers, you know how hard they work. You know that your weekends, you sit around waiting for them to be ready to go because they're doing their plans and they're doing their prep. And oftentimes, you are the greatest advocate for teachers because you see how hard they work every day and every weekend. So, to the family members that are here, thank you for giving us these wonderful teachers. All right, tonight we are going to honor our great ones. And so we'll get started, shall we?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me. Let me doing this. Dr. McKay and I will be switching back and forth as we share the honors and recognizing our staff. So many of you know that I'm still relatively new to Vernon, although I'm past 6 months, so I think my honeymoon is over. However, it gives me great pleasure first to recognize our first recipient from Vernon High School. I'm going to read a little bit about the staff member and add a couple of my own notes, and then of course we'll ask him to come up and be recognized and receive his plaque. So the recognition is for Mr. Mark Bray, who is a master teacher who can transform an average student into a critical thinker through his enthusiasm, vision, and dedication. He brings his students to heights they would never have imagined as he holds himself to the higher standards each and every day. One of the remarks I would like to make about Mr. Bray is that earlier in the school year I had the absolute privilege to observe him put together a panel of graduates from Vernon Township High School. And many of his students came back to talk about not just the language arts program that he delivers here at the high school, what that meant to those young ladies and gentlemen, but also the college paths and career paths that they were deciding to go down because of his influence and because of his dedication to teaching and learning here at Vernon High School. He's also well known for helping students understand what their college options might be when they leave Vernon High School. It's a pleasure and honor to recognize Mr. Mark Bray.
Yeah, we got to get a picture. Mark, hold on.
I know. Dr. McKay's the paparazzi.
Podcast, baby.
Mark, you got to shake everybody's hand. You can't just wait.
Congratulations.
Oh, me again? Okay. Sorry. I left you hanging. Sorry.
Congratulations, Mark.
Does everybody have one?
Wait, so this is going over.
Should I give
Yes,
one to
you
Mike?
can give them. You can give them.
Pass that down?
The next recipient is from Glen Meadow Middle School, and the award this year goes to Mrs. Stigler. She's a problem solver and innovator. She's a dedicated leader and an inspiration to her students and colleagues, always going above and beyond to ensure success for students. I had the privilege to interview some of Ms. Stigler's students for a podcast from her engineering program. Her program is a wonderful opportunity for students to be innovative and creative and to come up with really exceptional ideas and solve problems, which I love for our middle school students. She also worked very hard through our recent Shark Tank and also through the Glen Meadow musical, The Sound of Music. So congratulations and thank you for all of your hard work. I'd like to recognize Kathy Stigler. So that you're all together.
time no see. Stay good.
You want to shake hands with everybody? Congratulations. Job well done, Kathy.
Yeah, just hit the, yep. Might need our health plan. Yeah, I know. The last time I was taking pictures at a board meeting, I was taking pictures of little guys, and I fell backwards and looked like a complete horse's patoot. All right, our next person is from Lounsbury Hollow, and it is a person who is a dynamic teacher who brings everything she can into her classroom. The classroom is her community. She's completely entwined with our community. Her children went through the schools. She is a professional educator, and she looks for that aha moment. So when we were in Lounsbury together, it was when you walk by Shari Kennerson's room, it was aha every day. Ladies and gentlemen, the nominee of Governor's Teacher of the Year from Lounsbury Hollow, Shari Kennerson. Our Rolling Hills nominee for Teacher of the Year is Jane Hinson. Jane Hinson is a teacher who understands how each child is special. She is a person who understands that behavior and what a child brings to the classroom is something that can be shaped and molded, but she also understands that she wants the child to be an individual. She has shown unique abilities to raise and to be with children that some of us have trouble working with. Jane Hinson is an academic, she is social, she understands how children grow, and she has filled the emotional needs of these children and their families. Jane Hinson is a star. Jane Hinson, come on up. You are Rolling Hills Primary Teacher of the Year. Not here? Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. We'll get her plaque. Yeah. Jane is terrific. All right. I'll take it. Yep.
The next recognition for the Governor's Teacher of the Year is for the Cedar Mountain Primary School. This individual understands that children need first to feel secure in order to learn. The children in her classroom are ready to learn because they know that she will care for them in every way, academically, socially, and emotionally. I'd like to remark that this teacher is also a supportive leader of a positive climate that's reflected through her everyday actions at Cedar Mountain. She is often there embracing the needs of every child, not just those in her classroom, and the recognition goes to Connie Horn.
The person that we're going to honor from Walnut Ridge is Dana Cook. At Walnut Ridge, they are constantly impressed by Mrs. Cook's energy, her dedication, her love of her students, and as Mr. Piccolo said, her joie de vivre, as she displays each time she teaches a lesson. And I thought I'd tell a story about Dana Cook's dedication. A year or two ago, we were involved in a situation where one of our children was slightly hurt at a apple picking event at Pochuck. And because we were trying to make connections with the parents and trying to get them to follow us, Dana and I ended up in the ambulance, and I followed, and we ended up at the hospital. And Dana spent basically the rest of the night with that child, basically because we couldn't get the parents, and then when the parents showed up, the doctors weren't ready to release the child to the parents. Dana was the only consistent thing in that child's day. She held his little hand and made sure that he was okay. And I thought to myself as I left, I'm lucky to know Dana Cook. Ladies and gentlemen, Dana Cook. Okay, what we'd like to do is now move on to our ESP folks and take a look at our educational service professionals and how important they are. So when you were describing Mr. Bray, you were describing him in these wonderful terms. It's almost as if he was a Fitzgerald hero. And the truth of the matter is that if he's our Fitzgerald hero, then his sidekick is our Hemingway hero. And that is Mr. Den. Now, Mr. Den is the librarian at the high school. He is also a literary master. He is someone who has a master's degree in English and is very well read. And if you want to have an intellectual conversation, you just have to drop by the high school library and he will talk to you about the latest book. The truth of the matter is, he and Mr. Bray make a tandem like no other, along with Mr. Logaitis and some of the people in the English department. And what they have created is basically a literary salon up at the high school. And when you go into the library and there's something going on between them, just think of those French salons and the Cafe Society and our boys, Fitzgerald and Hemingway. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Den. I had to get Hemingway in there. All right, you have Steph.
The night would not be complete if we were not honoring one of our nurses in the district. So tonight I have the great pleasure for our educational services professional to recognize a dedicated professional from Glen Meadow Middle School. This nurse, you know who I'm talking about, is extremely thorough, knowledgeable, and efficient in the running of her office. On a daily basis, she ensures that our students, faculty, and staff health needs are met in a caring and compassionate manner. If you've ever been to a nurse office in any one of our schools, you'll know that it can be one of the busiest places in that entire building. And that's no exception at the middle school. So I would like to personally thank and recognize Stephanie Ash from Glen Meadow Middle School.
Steph. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
One of the really wonderful things about recognizing our educational service professionals is that we get to recognize people who have an influence of our students who are not just in the classroom but are in our buildings every day and working with our students in other ways. The next recipient is from Lounsbury Hollow School, and I know that Mr. Mudrick is sorry that he couldn't be here. He's actually recognizing our students from Lounsbury Hollow at a countywide recognition. So although we miss Mr. Mudrick, we're honored and proud, of course, that he's respecting our students at a countywide recognition ceremony this evening. This staff member has a personal and professional presence as a school counselor at Lounsbury Hollow School, and Mr. Mudrick writes that that is absolutely immeasurable. I would like to add that I'm always impressed with her energy level, and I'm always pleased to see that she has enough time and dedication to commit to the resurgence of the Positive Behavior Support in Schools program. Her classroom, or her room, Kids Central, is probably my favorite room in the entire district. It is a welcoming place for students and for staff, and she's cultivated an environment of inclusion, support, and collaboration. I'd like to recognize Cynthia Moser. Congratulations. Me too. All right, and then you. Okay. Once again, in continuing the theme of people who are making a difference for our children who aren't necessarily in the classroom, I'd like to recognize a member of the Child Study Team from the Rolling Hills School. This staff member consistently helps students, families, educators, and members of the community understand and resolve problems. She's a highly skilled and ready resource to ensure all children have the opportunity to thrive while attending Rolling Hills Primary School. I'd like to welcome and recognize Allison Pringle.
Cedar Mountain has nominated one of our most sterling professionals and someone who has had the courage to be here every day, even when maybe she didn't feel like being here. Miss Nelson, Lori Nelson, is highly respected by me, by students, by parents, by faculty, and by us, the administration, because she inspires, she creates positive learning environments, and she makes sure that children are successful in math. And she also has the courage to be a great teacher in the face of all that life has thrown her. Lori Nelson, you are my hero. The educational service professional from Walnut Ridge may be the most important person in Walnut Ridge. Sorry, bro, but when you're the nurse in Walnut Ridge, and Joe knows this because he wrote this, when you're the nurse in Walnut Ridge, you shoulder the heavy responsibilities of caring for our youngest, our most vulnerable, and sometimes our most accident-prone. And you have to deal with that with generosity, kindness, joy, and you have to call home all the time. So, we would like to honor Jen Gallant, the Walnut Ridge School nurse.
Where is the cake?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I would assume it's in the other.
All right, we're going to celebrate now with the families and take a break so that people can give flowers and take pictures, and we have cake. Where is the cake? It's out in the hall? Terrific, so we're going to have a little cake. We'll come back at 8.